Let's talk about some of these other potential post-June 1 trades, because it's all eyes on Julio, obviously. But, Bill Belichick, he has you looking over here, and maybe he's working on something over there, right? And I mentioned Rodgers and Watson. We're not going to get into that. I think that's pie in the sky type stuff. Zach Ertz, another name that's probably going to get moved, not to New England, obviously, after their free agency with the Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith.
You never know.
I guess you never know. Buffalo did clear that cap space today with the Stephon Diggs conversion. That seems like a potential landing spot for Zach Ertz. Daniel Hunter, Landon Collins, Jalen Smith, a couple of other guys that would clear a lot of cap space for their respective teams if they're traded after today. But the name that I wanted to bring up was Trey Flowers in Detroit. The Lions can save $14.3 million against the cap by trading Trey Flowers, who's still under contract for 2 more years at some big ticket numbers. After this, Dan Campbell's transitioning to a 3-4 defense. Trey Flowers is a 3-4 end or a stand-up outside linebacker. I'm not sure if that's a direct fit. We know that he had some sort of positive relationship with Matt Patricia. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed in Detroit. They did offer him the most money. That always helps as well.
Well, also, it was positive when he signed. That was,
fair.
2, 3, 4 years ago. We don't know.
So the Patriots aren't going to pay him $15 million to play football here in 2021. I think that that's an easy assumption. But what if Trey Flowers, knowing that Bill Belichick can get the most out of him, knowing that he's going to have a good season here, restructures his contract to make it a 1-year deal, resets his value here in New England next year on a competitive team, and then hits free agency once again to kind of recoup some of the losses of coming out of that deal with Detroit? It makes a lot of sense from the Lions' perspective, salary cap and scheme-wise. We know that Trey Flowers would be successful here with the Patriots under Belichick. I think that this one's one that we should maybe be discussing a little bit more alongside with Julio.
Well, this is also where, it being Trey Flowers aside, here's a guy who had decreased usage last year and then ultimately ended up on IR. He had a shoulder injury. He had a down year, a relatively down year the year before that. This is where Belichick generally strikes. I don't know the Trey Flowers stock is going to be any lower than it is right now, even at 27 years old. And I actually thought he was older than that. I can't believe he's only 27. Feels like he's been around forever. So this is kind of where Belichick would usually strike, and they've made it clear. Bill has made it clear. He's not going to be run on again this year. He is not going to be bullied up front defensively this year like he was last season. I don't think that they can have too many pieces up front. So this was a really good poll by you. You texted me about this before the show, and I dropped what I was doing. It's a really good concept. I think it would make a ton of sense. I'm all in on this, and it would. What would they have to give up becomes the question. But if you're looking at,
I don't think much because of the salary, right? And I have to shout out Mark Schofield, Touchdown Wire. He wrote a great article today with a bunch of potential trades post June 1, and Trey Flowers is on the list, and that's sort of what started this for me. So shout out to Mark, friend of the program. That's the one that it just looks like it makes sense for all sides, right? Trey Flowers comes back. Maybe, like I said, he reworks that deal so he becomes a free agent again at the end of the year on a 1-year contract, kind of bet on yourself sort of deal for him here with the Patriots. And the Patriots get another defensive lineman, which I think they could use some more depth on the defensive line, and a guy that they know is going to be really, really good in the scheme. So I think that checks all of those boxes for both sides. Does he want to play with Patricia again? He signed with Patricia in the first place, and I guess maybe how south things went in Detroit soured him potentially on Patricia, but the way that he signed with Patricia in the first place and the fact that he knows that Bill Belichick he's gonna ball out here with Bill, I think it makes a lot of sense. And remember, the Patriots a few years ago, they actually did make a pretty good pitch to Trey Flowers to get him to stay here.
He almost came back, didn't he?
Yeah, they bowed out at the end when the Lions got silly with the money, but they did try to keep him. This was not a situation where they said, sorry, thanks for everything, Trey, but see you later. They did try to keep him. And I don't know, this one definitely, when I saw Mark write about Trey Flowers, a light turned on right in the head, and this kind of would make sense for everybody. The Patriots could use another defensive lineman. Trey Flowers could use a big year. the Lions doesn't really make much sense looking at their roster and rebuild. Next year, Trey Flowers' cap hit's $23 million in Detroit. I just don't see how that makes much sense for the Lions as they rebuild their roster to be paying somebody that kind of money. It makes a whole lot of sense for everybody. I like that.
Yeah, so something worth keeping an eye on. And like you said, right, Bill has everybody looking at Julio Jones, then he's going to go out and trade for Trey Flowers. That would be pretty textbook.